Greetings, YouTube. This is Steam Shadow here, broadcasting for the first time. Before you freak out, yes, I am a pony. You might be wondering, why is a pony going to discuss human history? Well, as a pony from the land of Equestria, I can objectively discuss the facts without having any biases for any faction. Just roll with me. If nothing else, it gives me a chance to have fun with this. Anyhow, as a historian, I am obligated to follow the facts to draw conclusions based on the evidence, rather than try to manipulate the evidence to support any theories I may have. In this hope-to-be series, I plan on examining the various aspects of human history. For my first episode, I plan at looking at the Great War, aka World War I, which I personally find fascinating. However, just to be clear, I am not here to discuss if Germany should have won World War I. I am merely here to describe how they could have won the war. Okay then, let's see. Well, it looks like I've covered the introduction pretty well. I guess without any further delay, let's dive in. Before we go into the war itself, we must first understand why the war began in the first place. Granted, I could literally talk for hours on this, but I will try to keep things simple. If you already know what caused World War I, and or simply don't care, please jump to part 2. If you wish to stay tuned, please enjoy. Well, first off, the causes of the war start almost a century before the war itself. After the defeat of Napoleon, the major powers of Europe gathered to re-establish the old order in what became known as the Congress of Vienna. As part of this discussion, they established a balance of power. Basically, it was an attempt to make sure no one nation became powerful enough to conquer everyone, thus ensuring Europe remained at peace. The 5 countries involved were Great Britain, France, Russia, Austria, and Prussia. By and large, the Congress succeeded in ensuring peace for nearly 100 years. However, that begs the question, why did it fail? Well, that is simple. The balance of power fell apart. During the 19th century, nationalism swept through Europe. I could go into length about this, but I will keep it simple. Basically, it meant that people of various ethnicities wanted to form their own nations, most notably Germans and Italians. By 1861, the various Italian states had unified into a solitary Italian kingdom. Things weren't so simple for the Germans. Most Germans belonged to one of 3 parties: the Prussians, the Austrians, and various Germanic states. Both Prussia and Austria sought to unify the German people by annexing the German states. Long story short, after some awesome political maneuvering by Otto von Bismarck, Prussia annexed the German states, thus transforming it into the German Empire. Back to the point, however. This destroyed the balance of power set up by the Congress of Vienna. Not only did a new country join the equation, but Germany became heavily overpowered. New alliances were drawn up, specifically the Triple Alliance between Germany, Austria, and Italy, and the Triple Entente between France, Great Britain, and Russia. In addition to these new political alliances, tensions mounted between the 2 main superpowers, Germany and Great Britain. Great Britain was the world superpower. However, Germany posed a major threat. Although an upstart nation, Germany was increasingly threatening to surpass Great Britain. In addition, Germany quickly formed an overseas empire. However, in order to protect her empire, Germany did what anyone would have done: build a navy. Since Great Britain was the undisputed masters of the seas since the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, she saw Germany's actions as an even larger threat to her global position. Thus, a naval arms race began between Germany and Great Britain. Lastly, there were the Balkans. As the Ottoman Empire decayed during the 19th century, various ethnicities rose up in rebellion to form their own nations. Cough, cough, nationalism. Most of these new nations were in the Balkans. These new nations constantly fought each other over territory. In addition, as the Ottomans retreated, the Europeans began to encroach on the Balkans for influence, particularly the Austrians and Russians. With all of this, Europe was ripe for a major war to break out. All that was needed was a match to light the proverbial powder keg. As we all know, that came as the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Long story short, a Serbian terrorist group known as the Black Hand, which may or may not have had ties to the Serbian government, we may never know, killed the Archduke during a trip to the recently annexed territory of Bosnia. Before I continue, let me describe the relations between Austria and Serbia. After Serbia gained its independence from the Ottomans, they sought to create a pan-Slav state, one giant Slavic country. However, Austria had a sizable Slav minority. If Serbia was ever to achieve its dream, they would have to help free the Slavs under the rule of the oppressive Austrians. Basically, they tried to evoke rebellions within Austria. The Austrians were, of course, not too thrilled about this, to put it lightly. This threat to Austrian sovereignty was twofold. If the Austrians let the Slavs leave, they would have to let all the other ethnicities break away. Considering Austria was made up of 11 nationalities, this would basically end the existence of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Austria, of course, had to put an end to this Serbian insubordination at all costs. To say it was a matter of life and death is a bit of an exaggeration, but not by much. When the Archduke was killed, this gave the Austrians the chance to silence them once and for all. They blamed Serbia for the assassination, which may or may not be true, and gave them an ultimatum so severe that Serbia could not possibly accept. They then began to prepare for war. This is where things get messy. Russia, not wanting to let Austria gain any more influence in the Balkans, threatened to wage war against Austria if they attacked Serbia. Austria then turned to Germany for help. The Germans gave Austria a promise of unconditional support for whatever action they may choose to punish Serbia, the infamous blank check. The Germans then told Russia they would declare war on them if they attack Austria. Well, on July 28th, Austria invaded Serbia. The Russians then mobilized for war. However, their only mobilization plan involved mobilization against Austria and Germany. Seeing this, the Germans then started to mobilize its troops. Germany's mobilization plan, the Schlieffen Plan, more on this later, involved attacking France and knocking it out of the conflict early, and then transferring its troops to attack Russia. However, the Germans did give France an ultimatum to declare neutrality in the upcoming conflict. France promptly ignored it. On August 1st, Germany declared war against Russia. On the 3rd, they declared war on France and invaded neutral Belgium. Here is where Great Britain comes in. Officially, they declared war on Germany for invading neutral Belgium. However, in all honesty, Great Britain most likely would have declared war regardless. As the world superpower, they had a vested interest in maintaining the status quo, aka their place on top. Fearing a German victory, Great Britain thus wanted to ensure Germany did not become even more powerful than it already was. Thus, the great powers of Europe were drawn into what would become the costliest conflict in history up to that point. On one side were the Central Powers, Germany, Austria, and later the Ottomans, and on the other side were the Allies, France, Great Britain, and Russia. However, you might be wondering, where's Italy in all of this? Well, they decided to ignore their treaties with Germany and Austria and remain neutral, until they decided to declare war against their former allies in 1915. With the battle lines drawn, Europe remained at war for 4 long years. It was not until 1918 that the Allies emerged victorious. However, was an Allied victory inevitable? Well, join me in the next video as I tackle if Germany could have possibly won the war.